In the town of Nri, King Ekele and Lolo Ugonne were a powerful couple, blessed with everything but a son. Their joy knew no bounds when Lolo Ugonne finally conceived. However, a dark cloud loomed over their happiness. The oracle of Abala, a powerful Dibia, visited the palace, his face etched with worry. A great king you are, Ekele, Dibia began, his voice raspy with age. But a heavy destiny hangs over your child. He is destined to kill you, the king, and take your Lolo as his own. Ekele's face contorted in rage. This cannot be, he roared. Lolo Ugonne, tears in her eyes, pleaded. Is there no way to avert this terrible fate? The Dibia shook his head. The threads of destiny are strong, but there is a chance. You must abandon the child on Nkwo market day, leaving him exposed to the elements. Grief and fear battled within Ekere. He looked at Lolo Ugonne, her face pale with despair. With a heavy heart, he agreed. On Nkwo market day, a wail echoed through the palace as the baby was placed in a padded basket and carried outside. A palace guard, Obi, was tasked with the grim duty. As he walked through the bustling market, his heart ached for the innocent child. He couldn't bring himself to abandon him. A while later, a hunter from Umuofia, a neighboring town, named Eze, approached Obi. He saw the basket and inquired. Hesitantly, Obi confided in Eze about the prophecy and the king's orders. Eze, a kind man, felt a powerful urge to protect the child. One name, he said, taking the basket. Let me take him. Perhaps away from this place, his destiny will change. Obi, relieved, handed the child to Eze. Eze named him Okupe, meaning abandoned one, and raised him with love in Umuofia. Years flew by. Okupe grew into a strong, intelligent young man and a brave hunter like his foster father, Eze. One day, on his way to hunt for game, he had an encounter with an elderly man from the neighboring town, and the encounter led to a confrontation. The old man said demeaning things about Umuofia that caused Okupe to hit him, killing him on the spot. The old man's guards that were with him tried to fight Okupe, but he overpowered them all and they all fled. About 10 years later, Okupe was journeying into another neighboring town when he encountered a chilling sight. A monstrous creature with the head of a woman and the body of a lion guarding a narrow path. This was the dreaded Ngwoka, a very wise creature who challenged travelers with riddles. The Ngwoka was very popular in the surrounding towns as its riddles were tough and difficult to solve. If a passenger gets the riddle correctly, he gets to pass through the narrow pass. He can also ask anything of the creature, as the Ngwoka was a spirit creature and therefore is seer as well. Who walks on four legs in the morning, two legs at noon, and three legs in the evening? The Ngwoka boomed. Kupe, known for his sharp mind, pondered the riddle. A man, he answered. As a baby, he crawls on all fours. In his prime, he walks on two legs, and as an elder, he relies on a walking stick, becoming three-legged. The Ngwoka, defeated, had to grant Okupe passage and one request. What has my chi destined me to become in future? Okupe asked. The Ngwoka performed a little ritual and some incantation before replying Okupe. My son, what the future holds for you is not looking good. What does it say? Great One. It was prophesied at your birth that you will kill your father and marry your mother. Sophia Aqua, Okupe shouted and spat on the ground. May the gods forbid. What can I do to avert this prophecy, Great One? The Ngwaka replied, I'm afraid there's nothing anyone can do to change their destiny. It has already been decided by the gods, and you are just a victim of circumstance. With a heavy heart, Okupe continued his journey, thinking about what the Ngwaka had just told him. Should I confront my father? Does he know about this? He asked himself. He definitely would. But why has he kept something as important as this from me? Okupe asked himself again. Maybe he has been trying to prevent the prophecy from coming to pass. I might confront him and it escalates to a very ugly situation. God forbid. I can't imagine harming my father. I think it's best I don't return home at all. That way, I can totally avoid my parents, thereby not fulfilling this prophecy, Okupe said to himself. He then decided to move to the next neighboring town and stay there. Unbeknownst to him, he had already fulfilled the first part of the prophecy, as the elderly man he killed years ago was his father, the king of Uri, the town he was headed at the moment. Reaching Uri, Okupe was impressed by its grandeur. He entered the tavern and learned about a contest to select a new king for the town. Their former king went out years ago and has not returned since then. The people presumed he's dead and decided to take another king. The new king would take over the throne and the king's properties, including his wife. With his skills and charisma, Okupe won the favor of the people and eventually the contest. He became the new king, unknowingly fulfilling the prophecy of becoming king of his birth city. Okupe ruled Nri for years, and the people were happy. Everything was going well. Their farms were yielding bountifully. Their women delivered like the Hebrew women. Things were going very well for the first 5 years of Okupe's rule. And then all of a sudden, things turned very, very ugly. Their crops no longer produced as much yield. Their rivers began to dry up as rain ceased, and sooner than later, people started falling sick. Children died of starvation, and the whole town was thrown into constant mourning. The elders and chiefs pleaded with the king to find a solution very quickly. If not, there would be nothing left of Henry, as they had tried offering sacrifices to the gods responsible for rain, fertility, and good health, but nothing was working. One scorching afternoon, the town elders, their faces etched with worry, went to see the king. Ekene, the eldest, spoke first, his voice heavy with concern. Your Majesty, he began, a shadow hangs over Henry. Our crops fail, sickness spreads. The once vibrant town is now cursed. We've tried offering sacrifices, but it seems the gods do not want our sacrifices, which means whatever offense we might have committed must be a grave one, another elder added. Your Highness, I suggest we consult the priest of Amadioha, Ekene continued. Elders, are we in agreement? Yes, Your Highness, the elders replied. Okupe then sent two of his palace guards to summon the priest of Amadioha with 2 live hens and some kola nuts, as you do not come to the shrine of Amadioha empty-handed. The chief priest arrived at the palace, cloaked in cowrie shells and white feathers, to unravel the mystery behind the sudden tragedy that had befallen Henry. After performing some rituals, the chief priest was ready to reveal the cause of the tragedy that had befallen them. The elders gazed at the chief priest, anxiously waiting to find out what the cause of their predicament could be. A very terrible abomination has been going on in this palace for years, and the gods are angry, the chief priest said. The spirit of the late king is not at rest, as his murderer now dwells amongst you. Hey! The elders shouted in unison. Sufiakwa, abomination, that cannot be possible, they said one after the other. Great one, said Ekene. Please let us know who this unfortunate one is, that justice may be served. Bam! The rest of the elders shouted in agreement. A prophecy was given when the late king and his wife had their child, the Dibia said. After a long pause, she continued. Ekweme, you should remember why the king and his wife could not keep that child. Well, that prophecy has come to pass. May the God forbid, Ekweme shouted as he turned to face Okupe. Your Majesty, there was a prophecy made at your birth that you would kill your father and marry your mother. The Dibia says that prophecy has been fulfilled. Grief and despair overwhelmed Okupe. He had fulfilled the prophecy he tried so desperately to escape. That's not possible. I left my father and mother at Umuofia to avoid fulfilling this prophecy as I encountered Ngwaka during one of my travels and she told me about the prophecy. That was what led me to this town. Unknown to them all, the queen had been eavesdropping on their conversation, and when she realized that Okupe was the child she had had many years ago, she went into her chamber and hung herself. Back at the king's Obi, the Dibia was narrating how the prophecy was fulfilled. The man you killed in a confrontation many years ago was King Ekene, your father, the king of this great town. And now you have inherited the throne and his wife, your mom. Okope and the elders could not believe what was going on. Never had such a thing like this been heard of. Consumed by grief, guilt, and despair, Okope couldn't bear the weight of his actions. He went into his chamber, only for him to discover his mother's lifeless body. In a fit of self-punishment, he ripped out his own eyes, plunging himself into eternal darkness. Then he banished himself from Ori and asked that he be led out of town. He became a recluse, a shadow of himself, and a living testament to the devastating consequences of defying destiny. That's the end of my story. So what do you guys think? I think that even though the oracles may have said, oh, this is your destiny and there's no way to avert it, if he was not so quick to kill or like hit, hurt somebody, that encounter with the old man, if he was not so quick to kill the man, he just may have, averted that prophecy. Also, I think people should not try to tamper with, try to, oh, this child is going to kill me, let me take him away from here. If they had left him to grow up in the palace with him knowing that, yes, so this is what the gods have said about you, and he's conscious of it, and he grew up with his biological parents, maybe just maybe also he would have been able to avoid fulfilling that prophecy. But in man trying to be God, try and decide after God has said, okay, yes, this is what is going to happen. You try and do it your own way. They try to abide the prophecy in their own way by taking him away from there to go and grow up somewhere else. And you see that he still found his way back to his father and mother. So maybe if he had grown up in that palace with his parents, with the knowledge of that prophecy, maybe that way it would have been even easier to avert it. Yeah, that's what I think. So what do you guys think? You can leave your thoughts in the comments.